I've been around ministry by default just because I was 10 years old when my dad started the church. I was the guitar player, the drummer, the usher. I filled in whatever needed to be done. And that was just the general expectation, and didn't know another life. That's how it was. And so I was 17 when I joined the Army. I moved away, was gone in and out for a little while, but gone primarily for almost 10 years. And during that time, I had this conflict, like I said, of faith and career. How do I bring these into alignment?
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Biblical Money. I'm your host, Rabbi Rami Goldberg. I am here with Ethan Castleberry from Texas over in the United States. Ethan is a pastor, an entrepreneur. He's done a whole bunch of different things, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So, Ethan, I had an opportunity to speak in your church, and I appreciate that invite, and looking forward to finding additional opportunities to collaborate. When I was there, you guys graciously opened up, and you told me a little bit about your story involving ice cream and some other different types of things. I'd love to hear a little bit about your background, your entrepreneurial background, and then we'll get into the pastoral background as well. But give us a little bit of kind of the story and the journey.
Sure, I'd love to. Well, we do frozen yogurt at the moment, which is a kind of like ice cream, a little bit higher protein, lower fat. We were not always in frozen yogurt. We've been doing this now for 2 years. But prior to that, my business experience goes back to real estate. I could say I got burned out, to say the least, when COVID happened. But I guess I can take you back a little bit further. I got my first rental, and that's kind of what got me started in the entrepreneurial side of growing something that makes money. Got my first rental when I got out of the Army. I joined the Army when I was 17 years old. I graduated high school in May, and I was in Iraq by December. So very fast turnaround.
Thank you for your service. That's crazy.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your service too. You've recently gone back. So
yeah, but not in Iraq. That's a different ball game.
Sure. Well, I did that and ended up going National Guard after I was active. And during that time, I needed a place to live. So I bought around here we have a lot of mobile homes. So I bought a mobile home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Didn't want to pay the rent all by myself. So I invited a couple buddies to live with me, and I rented out each room and ended up renting that out and paying it off. And eventually sold it, took that money, started buying other homes, and eventually it led to buying a mobile home park. And that park was interesting. It was fun, but it was the stereotypical meth-ridden mobile home park. I would be the slumlord, as someone would call me. And it was neat for a little while, but at the same time, it had its difficulties. And we ended up moving away in 2018. My wife and I moved to College Station. I had two things going on in my life. One of it was I'm going back to the military as a chaplain. And the other thing was I'm going to have an entrepreneurial journey at the same time. And so the two never really met. I kind of kept them separate. And that was one of those things I reflect on. I wish I would have had a more integrated life at that time between my faith and my career. And I kept those separate, and they were fighting each other constantly. And in 2020, we had some major things happen. Obviously, we know there was a pandemic. Towards the end of the year, my wife found out she had cancer. And that was scary. That was something that we never saw coming. We were in our late 20s. I was about to turn 30. And we didn't know what to do other than, go through and put out fires and do what the next step was, go to the next doctor's appointment. And she had a major surgery, had it removed, took about 14 hours and had a chemo wash, that kind of thing. And we moved on. I kept on going with the mobile home park. And the next year I found out I had a little brain tumor. So I started getting dizzy, lost hearing. And I started realizing, I'm like, okay, God, is this the sign that I need to make some changes in my life? Because that happens. And that was what happened. We decided at that point, we're going to make some changes. We're going to get a little healthier. We're going to get our life in order according to God's kingdom, not just our own. And I got out of graduate school for a little while, then got back in just so I could finish a degree. But I really realized that I'm not going to be a military chaplain at that point. And so when I realized that, we had sold our house, we sold our cars, sold everything, and moved on to our little farm in a little community called Iola outside of College Station. And we had 11 acres at the time. We now have 22. And we didn't know what to do. The year of 2023 had come, the park was gone, and we're living in our fifth wheel, which is a travel trailer on our property. And we're building our house. Yeah, so we started building a house, having some farm animals, chickens, a couple goats, pigs, and eventually got cows. And that's what led us to the yogurt industry in 2024 when we received a phone call of a couple of yogurt shops that were for sale, and didn't really know what we were doing, but we jumped in, and God has been gracious, and he's blessed us. They've been very successful, and now we're at the point of franchising. So recently gone through some training, and I'm discovering the franchise world and what all it takes to do that. So that's a long story short, what we've gone through over the past, I would say, 6 or 7 years developing, and we still have a long ways to go.
Yeah, it's interesting just to kind of go back to that mobile home park, and like, as a pastor at this point, and I guess you weren't so much of a pastor at that point, but you have all these people who are who need that ministering to, who are in these places, and how do you on the one hand, listen, the rent's got to be paid, and whatever you got to do to get it, but on the other hand, can you do both successfully? And I'm not sure the answer to that. I think that's one of the big challenges of heart versus sometimes head when it comes to business. I don't know if that's something that you've kind of given some thought to.
Absolutely. I think it can be done. I did not do it, unfortunately. Like I said, there was a great divide between my faith and my career. And now that I look back, I realize I could have done a lot of things differently, so many things differently. There were some unwise choices. None of them were wrong or bad choices necessarily, but I could have done better. And in that, yes, there are so many opportunities to minister in a mobile home park where there are a lot of people that are addicted to drugs. There's a lot of people that are dealing with poverty and they can't rent anywhere else. And that was a place that I do believe that God had placed me for that time. And regrettably, I did not operate wisely in those situations. But I think if I went back, I would do it differently. I would probably include other people, work as a team. The mobile home park was not a place, at least for me, it was in East Texas. It was a very run down mobile home park. And I would not bring my wife out there. I would not bring my daughter there. And this was the contrast between the mobile home park and now frozen yogurt, to where my daughter can run the cash register. My wife can be there. She loves it. Something we're proud of. We were not proud of the mobile home park. It felt like, and it doesn't, I'm not condemning anyone that has one. It felt like dirty money for me, just in the lifestyle that I wanted to live. And I did not enjoy that kind of transaction when it came to giving someone a place to live in exchange for that rent. And I think there's a good way to do it. I just did not do it all right. But now we're in a much better place, and we're able to sell the park, and someone else can run it better than we can.
Right. No, definitely. You always have to figure God has certain callings for each of us, and kind of which areas we are called to in terms of making money and serving other people. Do you have a sense of service in obviously in the actual sense, but in the godly sense, as you're making someone some sort of mix or flurry or whatever. I don't want to use any trademark words over here.
Sure.
But
Yes, I think I'm compelled to have a connection with my community. I think this would be a Christian way of considering our community and who our neighbor is, and understanding that we do serve them, and that there is an interaction between our faith and our career, and having that opportunity that is a neutral ground where so many people from our community come into from all different walks of life and all ages. It's very diverse, and it's not just a childish atmosphere, but it's also the mature atmosphere where we have adults that come in to get yogurt, and they come in for different reasons. Some are celebrating and some are in distress. We've had some proposals take place, but we've also had some young men that had to go burn their football jersey because their team just lost. And so having that opportunity to be in that environment where we can be there and even have on a ministry aspect of showing the grace of God, being there for someone in their times of celebratory or distress is an amazing opportunity. And it's been fun. And it's just a neat place to be as a business owner, to own the sweet spot of your community. For us, our yogurt shops have become the spot, the place where all the high school students go to, the college students come to. And if anyone doesn't know where we live in College Station, Texas, and we have about 80,000 college students literally in our backyard right there. And they're looking for a place to go. They're looking for a place to hang out. And so we have an amazing market, and it's been fun. I enjoy the times when I'm not having to run the cash register, but I can hang out because we're not there all the time. But I like to be there when I can interact with, say, a high school student. I've had moments where kids ride their skateboards past the store and they don't necessarily have the money to get a yogurt. And I invite them in. Oh, I don't know. We don't really have the money. I give them some free yogurt, something like that. Talk to them about their life, where God's leading them. What are they going to do in their career? Those are the really amazing moments that I'm grateful for, that I could not have gotten that in any other environment. And so it was just neat seeing kids that I went to same high school they did, but it was just years earlier. Having those interactions is great.
All right. I mean, if you want to get to someone's spirit, right, it comes through the stomach. So that, and certainly,
Exactly.
certainly high school kids, I'd be skating there every day, you know, if getting some
If
free.
word gets out that it's free, we're going to have some problems.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll keep it between us and, you know, our listeners. We'll block out College Station
Sure.
on the, you know, but
Geofence the whole place.
So what do you do differently than, you know, I grew up, and I don't even know if they're around anymore. TCBY, is that still like a thing anymore, or like?
Yeah, they're still around. I know there's one in Arkansas from what I heard, but they're not as big of a deal that they used to be. In the 80s, 90s were a big deal. 2000s started coming out with self-serve, and that really took over the market. TCBY didn't transition as good as they should have. And so they're still around, just not what they were back then. So yeah, we do a self-serve model where we have 7 machines. People walk in, they get a cup. We sell it by the ounce. So as much as they want to add to that cup, we'll sell it to them at 70 cents an ounce. They put yogurt in. The next thing you do, you add some toppings, and that's how we do it. It's very similar to the way it has been for the past 10, 15 years. Our stores are, I think the culture is slightly different. We decided to make it a little bit more mature just because our industry's matured. Early 2000s, the yogurt industry was very gimmicky. It had a lot of color explosions and oversaturated, and everything was big and bold, misspelled words, trying to get kids' attention. And I think we're moving from that. We don't have as many yogurt shops per capita. So what that requires is a little bit stronger and more mature store. And our industry has just matured. I think it's stabilized. We are growing at like a 5 to 6% rate, which is healthy. But it's nothing like it was in 2008, 2009, when there were yogurt shops on every corner, at least here in the United States. And so we are franchising in a way that hopefully we can beat out our competition with quality. Our yogurt's the best yogurt in the world. We hope our customer service is as well. So that's kind of what we're doing differently, making a little bit more mature environment. We're serving older and younger because those kids that fell in love with yogurt 10 years ago are now adults. And so it's just a whole different demographic.
Right. Okay. And you know, are you seeing, you know, people? Oh, I'm weight conscious. I don't want to put on too many toppings, or, you know, people they're treating themselves. You know, like it's the.
Oh yeah. I would say if you're conscious, which not everyone is, thankfully, I guess that's a good thing for business. People load up and they can spend $12, $13 on a yogurt. But you know, our yogurt is real yogurt. So we have 5 active cultures in all of our yogurt. And like our vanilla, I think vanilla is probably your healthiest option. Not saying everything's healthy, but if you're going to go for the healthier option, you're going to go with vanilla, put some nuts on top, enjoy it. But there's, you know, we got cake batter and we have all the other stuff that it's not that healthy, but it's great. It's amazing. So sometimes you need to violate your diet just to have a good time.
Yeah, no, it's always that balance, right? Because if you go too far to one extreme, I think that's the golden rule is kind of stay somewhere in the middle. This shouldn't be three meals a day, but there are certainly times to celebrate different experiences in life. With any of your experience, have you had to? Do you have other people working for you? Have you had, and what is that in terms? How has that been in terms of managing people? Have you had to fire people? Like, and how do you deal? Like, kind of, what's your perspective from a biblical perspective?
I will say we have an amazing team. I could not do this without our team. My sister, her husband, my wife, we do it together. We all have a diversity of skills that we just realize I don't possess the influencer type personality. That's my sister. She's the marketer. She's the one that can take the amazing photos. And my wife is as consistent as can be. She can show up and she works with the employees and she'll make that schedule and have that relational aspect because we hire mostly females. They work really well in our environment. They do a great job. Unfortunately, the one man that we tried to hire was in high school, and he kept using the phrase, "That's a woman's job." He would not sweep. He wouldn't wash dishes. He wouldn't do anything. He stole the company phone, added Call of Duty, was playing games in the bathroom for hours, and we had to let him go. And we see ourselves, and going back to the kind of the biblical aspect of it, I like to use the word stewardship because that's truly what we are. As a business owner, I could really easily say I'm a business steward. And this is what I hope we can pass down to our employees, that they are stewards, not just for us, because they are loyal, very loyal. We've got people that have worked with us for over a year and a half. And what's funny is we had one of them try to break into our safe because they were so loyal to us. They got scammed. Somebody called our store and convinced them that we needed money out of the safe so we could pay our bills. And this girl went and ripped the fire extinguisher off the wall, and she was going to save us by doing it. She was very loyal. She still works for us today, and she started bawling when she realized she was getting scammed, and we got it all on video, and it was just funny how it all worked out. But we're stewards primarily of the blessings of God, stewards of all the things that he's given us. And I think that comes out in our customer service and our relationships with our community, and it comes out in how we treat things, how we clean our store, how we make everything presentable. We don't hide anything in the back closet. That, our health score, our College Station health score, we hit 100 2 times in a row now, which is very rare and very hard to get. And so they're cleaning so good. And it's amazing to see our team work together. And thankfully, like I said, my wife and sister, they do a great job with our employees. They have events and parties and take them out and really appreciate them. And so that's the really neat thing that we've been able to see is their loyalty to us. And I guess it probably comes through our loyalty to them and respect for their position in life and understanding that they're students just as much as they are an employee. Many of them, it's their very first job. They're 16 years old. They come in, they don't know how to mop. And we will literally pull the mop out, show them how to mop, show them how to clean. What seems like very basic things, they are developing in these early stages of life. And I hope that we can help them and have an impact and teach them some of the values that we have, that many of them likely do not have the same Christian values that we have. But I will say that we've been able to impact them by explaining why we value what we do. And we've seen that light bulb come on in their life, and they're realizing that there maybe is a higher calling for them. There's a higher purpose, and it's not just an hourly clock in and clock out. And so we hope we can portray that and impact these young students, because they may not be getting it at home, but they may not be getting it at school. I don't know who's influencing them, but as a business owner, suddenly we have the opportunity to influence a generation of young people and bring them up with us in so many ways. And so I think that's where that biblical aspect of stewardship comes in, and it really bleeds through our operations. And then thankfully the whole community is blessed by it because we deliver a really good product.
Yeah, it's so critical. I think we are in a point in history where people are no longer learning many basic skills at home for whatever reason, whether it's they come from broken homes or even if they come from good homes. But mother and father are out working a lot of times, and they don't develop these work ethics. And so now more is being put on teachers and schools, and then eventually on the CEOs and founders and managers to go ahead and to teach those basic work ethic. I mean, I remember we hired a young guy, and the manager like literally had to be on top of him, to show up. And he's like, I'm not feeling it today. I need a mental health day. And it was like, he didn't really need a mental health day. He just didn't understand what work ethic and what it means to show up on time and what it means to put forth your best efforts. So, I mean, that's an amazing thing that what you're doing is you're giving them that, like that real sense of like a work ethic that you probably got in the Army, more so than any other place.
Right. And I have to be careful to tone that down at times. I'm sure I can get a little overbearing. But yes, so work ethic. And thankfully, I do credit a lot of the work ethic that I do have to my parents. I have some amazing parents. My dad's a pastor. My mother, she was raised on a Marine Corps base. So she was kind of comes from that military perspective, very structured. And so it's been neat how that's kind of come into play through the military experience and then also into hosting a place that's open to our community where we provide high quality products. And so hopefully we inspire these students that come in, and we know this is not going to be their career. They're not going to retire through Farmhouse Frozen Yogurt. They're not going to get a pension plan, and they're not going to have all these things. But I hope what we do give them is the ability to transfer some skills, transfer the punctuality that they have learned of, hey, you need to actually show up and you follow through with your commitments and things like that, that are very much soft skills. Hard skills anyone can get. Soft skills are what has to be developed. And we're teaching that on a very early level for them. And it's really neat to see them start catching on.
Yeah, that's great. So besides the yogurt shop, you're also an assistant or associate pastor in your church, working alongside your dad. How do you kind of put these together, and do you bring things from the business back into the church with you?
That's a great question. I've been around ministry by default just because I was 10 years old when my dad started the church. I was the guitar player, the drummer, the usher. I filled in whatever needed to be done. And that was just the general expectation, and didn't know another life. That's how it was. And so I was 17 when I joined the Army. I moved away, was gone in and out for a little while, but gone primarily for almost 10 years. And during that time, I had this conflict, like I said, of faith and career. How do I bring these into alignment? And it was a constant battle. And I think it was a constant growing. There was something that was always pushing me into faith, yes, but my career was separated. And I obviously applied some principles, some things. Work ethic is one of those cross pollinators. It was one of those things that makes it everywhere. And whenever I moved back in 2018, I didn't know that we would stay here in College Station. I just thought it would be a really nice landing place because at the time I was still going back to the military. And so I was in graduate school, and I got an opportunity to work at a hospital as a chaplain. They had a program called Clinical Pastoral Education, CPE, and it was an accredited program through the hospital. And there's only a few of them here in the state, and it just happened to be in College Station. And so I came to work at the hospital. And obviously, as a chaplain, your faith must be primary. You're showing up. You're helping people through times of distress. You're providing care, and you're oftentimes in the emergency room, in the ICU, and you're constantly responding, and you're reacting, and you're doing things, which in many ways I like that because my military experience was more reactive. I was a radio operator in an infantry unit. And so I usually worked on my feet in kind of intense moments. And so I started doing that. And then pretty quickly, obviously, I see gaps in the church. There's opportunities to work here, opportunities to help in this department. And one opportunity to the next just led me to filling holes. And it worked out perfect to where I'm not a specialist in anything. If I'm honest, I'm not a engineer. I'm not a scientist. I am a generalist. I work in any need that's possible. And I think that was kind of that church planner mindset. When dad starts the church, I'm going to fill any role. Well, that was transferred now in 2018. Years later, I'm now an adult, married, got a child. and I see that we need help on the video stream, or I'd see we need help in music, or children's church, whatever. And that's where I kind of started flourishing in the church, helping in gaps. And COVID hit, and thankfully I started implementing video streams, which was necessary at the time. We still do it today. But in that kind of developed in more pastoral work, started getting into young adult ministry, because we have so many college students just up the road, and a lot of college students in our church. And having that relationship with them was an amazing opportunity to get connected and help them and inspire them to become what God truly called them to be. And really, it was that 2020 where I was stressed out, tired, exhausted of making video streams constantly. We were making videos every day. We're publishing to the church, and we were doing all that. And then suddenly your wife has cancer. And it stopped everything for us. It really did. And we went from being the caregiver to the care receiver. And that was weird. I had never been in that position. I've always been healthy. My wife's always been healthy. And now we're stuck I'm in a hotel room. She's in the building next to me in a hospital bed, and they won't let me come over because of COVID. And so I'm sneaking by the nurses, and I'm making my way to her. And it was just a weird thing. And the blessings of God started coming out when her employer paid for my hotel and gave us gift cards to eat with. And all the things started coming in when I was supposed to be the caregiver in the hospital as the chaplain. I'm supposed to be the pastoral person at the church, but now suddenly the church is ministering to me, and suddenly the career that my wife was in starts ministering to her. And it was like a paradigm shift for us. And then 21, similar thing happened. Confusion. You're kind of knocked off your feet, because I woke up one morning, I lost my hearing in my left ear, and I just didn't know what was going on. And these moments led us to a place of vulnerability where we said, hey, we need care too. You can be a pastor, and this maybe will speak to some of those that are out there that are pastors. You're leaders on maybe your career, and you own a business. At some point, you too are going to have to be cared for. And that's something that brings a lot of humility. If I was honest, I would say I was very prideful, and I still battle with that. But I think I didn't know it. And that's the more dangerous pride, is when you don't know you have it, that I'm going to provide care. I'm going to be the strong one in the room. Well, suddenly you're no longer as strong as you thought you were. And so I think that really informed our pastoral care on a chaplain level, on a church level, in a business owner level, of we are not invincible. We too are human. And so keeping all that in mind is something that really has changed my ministry tactic and ministry mind.
Yeah, I think, gave me chills, just, that idea of the fragility of man, and how one of my prayers to God is always, please, let me be part of the solution, whatever that solution is. But, being able to care for somebody else. But that is it is very difficult. We have a very close friend who has been sick for a very long time, and it's extremely difficult to be the receiver of other people's kindness, where you're like, well, no, I'm the person who always gives it out. But to have that humility, it's just something that's like so important, and I'm sure that has changed you as a pastor, and as someone, when you do give, you're much more conscious about how you give to somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm grateful for it. I see it as a blessing. Most people would not recognize health issues as a blessing, but when it draws you closer to God, it's absolutely a blessing. When it draws you closer to your purpose and your calling, it is a blessing. And so that's where I think we have to recognize it for what it is. And that as long as we're here on this earth, we're going to deal with health issues. We're going to deal with cancer and tumors, and we're going to deal with disappointments. And all of that draws us closer to Him. And if it doesn't, then we've got to repent. We really do.
Yeah. That's we have a line within the Talmud that when a person gets sick, they should check out, be introspective. What did I do? Look at my different deeds. Am I acting correctly? And if at a certain point they're like, no, I went through everything, and there's really nothing then it must mean that you were wasting time. That's like the kind of catch-all, that you weren't studying, studying the word the way that you were supposed to. Because there's got to be something. There's got to be, there's always something that's there that we can definitely dig down and improve. So next for you is now franchising. I mean, how big do you think this can go? We looking at the next Starbucks, the next TCBY,
to the moon,
the next
all the way. No, I don't know. I would love that. I look at other competitors and I see that they've got 500 stores. 2 weeks ago, I would have thought 10 stores would be really nice. But the more I consider the stewardship model, and I consider, if God's given us the ability, he's given us the talent in our team, and he's given us resources and people and connections and all these things, who are we to limit him? Especially if, in my mind, the franchise model is a vehicle. While we do have a great product, while we do provide something great to the community, it becomes a vehicle for a family, for a husband and a wife who maybe they're disappointed and they were in the same position I was in, and they're disenchanted with real estate, and they're tired of the exchange that they were doing before, and they want to go into a position where they can find. This gives us the combination, the sweet spot in our community, a sweet spot of business models where I've got a connection to my community, but I also have good cash flow. And that's what we're discovering in Farmhouse Frozen Yogurt. And I would love to be able to put a quality person, a quality couple into one of our stores and say, hey, you know what, we're going to give you the vehicle, we're going to give you the marketing, we're going to give you the training, and you can herald this brand and you can put it forward in your community. Obviously, we're going to have to be very selective. We're going to have to be selective on where we place them and who comes into our franchise. But at the same time, those that can get in, they then have the opportunity to go make a good income, oftentimes better than what they're making now. And so that's what I want to offer. And that's what brings each other up. And I think if we can help someone in that position where they can be a blessing to their family, they can have a little more free time, they can be connected with their community, be a blessing to their church, I would love to see that happen through Farmhouse.
Yeah, it's really one of the most unbelievable things. I mean, I built up a business and employ a whole bunch of people, and it's one of the amazing aspects where it's like, oh, it's not just the person themselves, but it's their family and it's their community, and it's like you end up impacting thousands and thousands of people. So I if for whatever it's worth, I bless you that this should become as big as possible, and all with keeping in mind the ultimate mission of serving God through our work and not divorcing ourselves from Him. So that's my blessing to you, that there should just be much success in that regard. So we're gonna start wrapping up in just another few moments. I'm curious, with this training, is this something that you have a work ministry within the church? Is that something you have done or have looked into doing, or thought about it, or not yet?
Now you're talking about when you say work ministry, you're talking about, like, say, entrepreneurship?
Yeah, meaning I know different churches that I've been in touch with will have an entrepreneurial meeting, will have mentorship for younger business people, an opportunity for younger executives to meet with older executives, all of those types of things. Particularly, you got so many college students there. Is that something you guys have looked into?
Yeah. So we've had what we call small groups. We did them by semester, and we've had several times where we met with entrepreneurs from any range, those that aspire to be entrepreneurs and those that are currently working in business. And that's something that we'll be doing more in the future. And what's really a blessing, I've been able to have a pretty good schedule by having these yogurt shops and then working at the hospital some still and working around the church. I would love to be able to bless other people with just spending time with them. I do that quite often. Go out and get coffee, go spend some time with a young man, help him analyze a business. Some people don't have what I had. I had a father that was a business owner. He had air conditioning companies and he did these things. And so it was very common to me to let's lay it out on paper. Let's put a napkin out. Let's write down a couple of numbers. Let's see if this even makes sense. And not everyone has that in their life. Somebody that can be a friend and mentor and walk in and say, let's be honest about it. Let's look at the eroding factors and let's look at the enabling factors, because you have both. Some things are against you, but some things are for you. And I think being in the church, being part of the kingdom of God, we have a lot of enabling factors. Primarily, we're part of this kingdom. And so we have a network of people that, like you said, a church that can have that ministry where, say, an elder that's gone through the route of entrepreneurship, they can step up and they can help somebody that's just now finding interest. And then we even have investors, and we have people that can see value in somebody else, that maybe they've got the ethic and they've got the work value, but they may not have the financial side. And so I would love to see that develop further, not only in our church, but everyone I'm connected with. I think there's value in coming together and recognizing that we're here for his kingdom. I think it's Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you, meaning that we have to seek his kingdom, not our own. And then secondly, and his righteousness, not as the world would define it, and not as, man, you read the news today, and it's quite discouraging that someone is fighting for a cause and they think it's right, but it's completely against the word of God. We have to seek his righteousness ultimately. And I think we can do that in the community of the church.
Well, Ethan, you've done so many things, and you're still so young, and so many opportunities upcoming. Looking forward to continuing to follow your journey. Thank you so much for joining me today, and stick around right after the recording. But thank you so much for joining today, and looking forward to finding other opportunities to get together and to share together.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored.